great. That's great feedback. And I'm going to give you a real quick angel perspective, then we're going to open it up for questions. So if I compare to what angel investing I've done, and I don't do a lot of it on a very small scale, but I've done it pretty consistently for the last 8-9 years. And I don't do just tech, even though my background is predominantly in software. I've done some other things as well. But if you talk about the scope of tech, if I looked at what I might have done as a seed investment 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I knew that if I invested in a potentially hot area with a small firm as an angel investor, the VCs were going to populate that area heavily with other firms. Now that was a good news, bad news thing. That might mean the firm I invested in was going to be part of that next round. But it also might mean they get squeezed out. So historically as an angel investor, I looked for the sort of less trodden path that still had potential profit business. Having said that, the one investment that I've made this year with some other people, I never would have seen that deal 5 years ago because it would have been snapped up by a VC. And so it's a very good time to be an angel investor, but you have to be very good about how you communicate your business, how clear you are in communicating your business, how well planned out you've got. So it's not just I've got a great technical idea and I'm a great programmer. You're going to have the other pieces there as well. Barbara will tell you that I'm sort of of the theory that even though there are guys like me that are reasonably tech savvy, the typical investor out there you're going to try to recruit as an angel, other than the 3S, friends, families, and foolish investors, may not be as technically savvy as you, and especially if it's a social media related application. So you got to make sure that you're doing a good job of communicating clearly what the upside of your deal is. And I say that's because the angel investors will look at that and decide, if he can't communicate this to me, how's he doing it to his customers? Okay, any questions? Let's open up the floor.
This is for Brett or Eric. I don't get free as a business model. What do you guys look at as?
I'm going to let you start.
Actually, so one of the company that I was at the board meeting of this morning in Austin that I just flew in from, actually is a freemium model, right? So for those of you who haven't heard the term freemium, that usually means the base offering is given away free, and then their premium offerings that you actually charge for. And usually that works well. Well, it's debatable how it works because a lot of people tried and a lot of people fail, but the idea behind it is that the free is kind of great lead generation or gives you some kind of scale that you need to bring down the costs or whatever it might be. And then the premium is really where you generate your revenue from the kind of the power users or people who have special needs. I think it is debatable. I think it's probably overused, but I think it can be sometimes used in different phases of a company, and it's useful. So I'll give you an example why we used it. We used it because the company that we funded, basically the reason we funded it is because we believe they're network effects. So I don't know if, how many people here understand the concept of network effects, but it really means your product or service is more valuable the more people that are using it. Great example, the classic example is the telephone or the fax machine. The first telephone is useless because you can't call anyone. There's 3 telephones, you can call 3 people, but when everyone has a telephone, it's a lot more valuable. And sometimes you have things that are two-sided, so buyers and sellers. It's great if you have a bunch of buyers, but if you don't have a bunch of sellers, then it's no good. So it becomes more valuable as more people are engaged in it. Free is a great way to bootstrap that and get you a critical mass that you need to get those network effects, if that's what your offering is. It's not just the product, but it's like for us, it's a video syndication that connects manufacturers to online retailers. Well, we need a bunch of online retailers on board and a bunch of manufacturers on board for both of them to really benefit from the syndication network. And so that's why we have that set up. So I think there are examples of where it works. I think in consumer media, if people have adopted it. There's examples like Twitter and stuff like that where you're really building a user base and someone else is going to buy you. It's a risky strategy, but there are countless examples of things that have found business models that worked after the fact. Google's another example. It's free to use, right?
As an angel investor, let me start off by talking about the model in general. Having been involved with companies that used and I'm not about free because that wasn't what it was done, but it was a low price entry point that got you eventually to a larger scale product. I think that model definitely works. It's been proven time and again. I think my concern as an angel investor would be that if you come out with the freemium first, it may be difficult to make that transition. And the network effect, irrespective of that, I mean, if you do it, you've got to have thought it through fairly well. Now, I also, in my opinion, might also be based on how much skin in the game the founder or the person who was, actually coming to me, soliciting my investment, if he was putting a lot of skin in the game, where's Brent? I'm going to pick on Brent. Brent, who's here, is working, has a job and funding his development, which I think is a great approach to go. If he came to me and said, look, I'm paying for this development, we just need a little bit extra money, but, and we're going to do a freemium version, but here's how it's going to transition, and by the way, I'm going to continue to support the cost of development, I'm just really looking for marketing capital. I might at least listen to him, because his skin was in the game, he'd done it smart so far. So, I think that was, it's a great way to start a business, keeping a job and doing work someplace else, and I might listen to that.
But I would say VCs are a lot more skeptical this year than they were 2 years ago or last year even around, I'll figure out the business model later.
Right. I think that's key too, because I talk to a lot of startups too, and free can't be your business model forever. No VC is going to fund you, right? They need to know your exit strategy, and I think Twitter is a big exception to that, but there's somebody at Twitter is figuring out how to make that work or figuring out how to sell it, to make that money back. No VC is going to invest in you unless there's an idea of how you're going to make money, whether that's an M&A, whether it's IPO, again, if that ever happens, or if you're going to somehow start throwing advertising all over Twitter.
And the reason you see so much free in Web 2.0 is because you can fail fast and cheaply.
Yeah.
So I think the question was that, why, what does traction mean in consumer internet? And I was saying, you're looking for that exponential kind of viral growth. If you talk to the guys that do that kind of investing, especially the super angels that are out there, they'll say that, pretty soon, pretty early, whether this is taking off. They understand, they've done this so many times, especially in the Valley, they've almost done to a science, I think, in terms of understanding adoption curves and being able to say, hey, we have a rocket, let's grab onto it and go with it.
So Brian, that actually, before we take another question,